Alright guys, sorry about cutting the video out at the last minute. I just realized, YouTube has a maximum of 15 minutes, I believe, for each video. So I just, got done with the other video where we talked about press releases, right? And we have moved on to the social network module, okay? So once again, social network is one of the most important modules in this software, right? You have a ton of websites over here which have a really high PR. Not that PR really makes a difference anymore. It's more of a general measure of how important a website is. But then again, these are one of the highest quality domains out there. They have tons of unique content posted by other users who are not actually looking at the SEO side of things. So these sites are pretty legit, right? Okay, so once again, you have to be really careful. Please don't use any script content. It defeats the purpose. You can easily outsource a couple of articles and pay someone $5 to $10 per article, and that should do the trick. Now with these sites, especially, just because they can hold a lot more content, I personally go with at least 800 words per article, right? And I make sure that I pay the outsourcer enough that the articles are worth his while, right? And the articles are informative, they're interesting. So in case anyone actually checks your backlinks or just visits this article, he's pre-qualified to buy from you, right? Just because you're piquing his or her interest by showing him or by getting him to read the article. Okay, so once again, 800 words is a minimum that I would suggest going with, right? Because that will provide you with a lot of SEO value, right? Trust me, go with this approach and you will not be disappointed, right? Apart from that, everything is pretty much the same, right? You have to make sure that the categories are the right ones. If you're already using the wizard to generate social network posts, you don't have to worry about this, okay? It automatically selects the right ones, so you don't have to go through this. But please do not use the seed article from eScene because it doesn't make sense anymore. I'm pretty sure the SENuke people will be changing this option. I'd be surprised if they don't, because just allowing people to download articles like this creates a ton of spam, right? And that's very easy for Google to figure out. Okay, so let's check what else is there. So yeah, you add the article in. You don't need to spin it. I personally would not suggest spinning the articles, but if you do want to go and use one article onto 3 different sites, maybe more sites, by all means go ahead, use the spinner, use the best spinner, but make sure that the replacement frequency is low. Okay, so at least the content is readable, right? So once you get this done, the software will automatically post to many different accounts, and it's pretty much done. Okay, let's see. So with this being done, okay, let's move on to article. Okay, article directories. Huge waste of time, okay? Huge waste of time, effort, even if you do use your own content. I've tried using my own content. Yeah, I got 4 successful submissions over, but here it says it has around 18 to 20 different sites, but you get only 2 or 4 different successful submissions, so defeats the purpose. I never use it. There's no point, right? I would suggest that you don't use it either, especially because article directories have such a bad reputation now. Most of them are spammy. They're defined as spammy because one article that is submitted to one directory will be submitted per se, into like 100 different other directories. So really defeats the purpose. I would suggest just skipping it. Okay, social bookmarks. Here's the thing. I would personally suggest you not to social bookmark your own website using this software, because it's kind of hard to explain. Most of these social bookmarking sites will create more tags than you want them to, right? So for example, you submit to all of these sites, and assuming that these sites are there are total 20 sites, you might get 400 or 500 different links. The problem is, even though you get a lot more backlinks, it looks really unnatural. It might trigger a filter. It did trigger a filter with one of my websites, so I just want you to be careful. Please never submit your money site to these kind of sites. It's silly, right? I would suggest submitting your other links that you've done. You can submit it to these sites, but that too carefully, but never your money site, okay? So if you do decide to use this module, make sure it never points directly to your money site or your main domain, okay? Make sure you don't use, first of all, you will obviously, you'll choose the number and the different kinds of URLs that you want to submit to these sites, make sure you never choose one. Okay, use 10 or 20 different URLs. That should do the trick. That will randomize everything. But here's the thing that you really have to be careful about. If you're using a staggered approach, use no more than 2. Okay, 2 per day, 2 daily would keep it pretty much under the radar. So that's a good idea if you're being really careful, right? So use 2, but stagger it over 7 to 10 days, and it will submit most or all of your links. But over here, use many different titles. Okay, this is extremely important, because what happens is I was actually checking most of my social bookmarking accounts. You know, even though we use 2 or 3 different titles, right, and we spin them, it looks so it looks as if it's automated. Very easy to find out. There's no trick to it. So use at least 10 or 15 different title tags as well. Yeah, it is a little bit of work, but what are you gonna do about it, right? You know, you need to make sure that the links you're building right now do not get discounted a year down the road, and for that to happen, you have to be very careful. Okay, so make sure you spin this, allow you use many different combinations. Same here. Okay, description, it should be at least 3 to 4 lines, right? So make sure there's more substance to the description, as opposed to just saying, hey, this is a crazy site, you know, this is my website, just visit it. Looks really silly, right? It doesn't really help you. So make sure you have make sure you act as a third person who's bookmarked the site because he or she has found it valuable, not because it's his or her own site. Okay, there's a big difference between the two approaches. So once again, use a lot of spin tags over here and you should be good to go. So what we learned over here is, first of all, I never use this most of the time. Okay, if you do, be very careful. Use 10 to 15 or even 20 different URLs over here. Use a lot of different title tags over here, right? At least 10. That's the minimum you should be doing. Same over here. Okay, different descriptions. It should look totally natural. The tags don't really, I mean, you know, no one really cares about the tags, but I would suggest adding click here keywords as well. Click here to go to my website, learn more here, that kind of stuff, right? So just so it has that natural feel to it, even though you and I both know that there's nothing really natural about link building, right? But we just have to be careful. Okay, so this being done, let's move on to, okay, and you see 2 or 3 different modules over here, just because we're using a huge diagram, right? We're bookmarking every single thing, right? So if we're getting 300 different links from other modules, we're bookmarking them using these modules. But it's kind of overkill. You don't want to do that, right? That defeats the purpose. You use a lot in captchas. I would not suggest doing it. Okay, so Web 2.0 profiles. Once again, no matter what they say, okay, a profile will be a profile, but see, here's the difference. If, first of all, a profile is on a high PR domain, that by itself, in my testing at least, it provides you a lot of link juice, okay? But you have to make sure that the link, that the content is unique, first of all, and that it's relevant, okay? So this modify, okay, about me section, this has been scraped off, okay? So we just went to using articles, we scraped a bunch of authors, you know how it goes. Don't do that, right? Make sure that, for example, if the website is about you, talk about yourself, okay? That way you might get a few leads who are just visiting that page, right? Secondly, it looks really unique, so you know you get a bonus, right? And these links will count for a long time to come. After that, what else is there? You just select the sites, nothing really to it. But if you're using a wizard, it will allow you to place unique content on these sites. Make sure when you're placing the content, make sure it's unique. Scraped content is not unique content. That's the biggest mistake, okay, that I've learned. Sure, it does save you a lot in costs, but down the road, if the links get discounted or the website gets into trouble, you know, the scraping and the spinning is probably to blame, especially if you have a huge scraping frequency and nothing is actually readable. You know, that's a big turn off. Okay, so you have to be really careful about it. Apart from that, there's nothing really in here. Just make sure you never use more than 1 link, okay, in each profile. Using 2 or more, it's you know, it doesn't work anymore, because first of all, no one would really, like, think about it, no one would really point to 2 or 3 different websites unless they knew that they knew something about SEO and they were trying to game the system. So firstly, do not use more than one outbound link on these profile pages. Secondly, the more profile, like the more links you have on these pages, the higher the chance of those pages getting deleted. Okay, so we never use more than one link, even though it might show more links over here. Yeah, see, it says add 3 random links. We don't do that anymore. This was this was done last year. Things have changed. They've changed hugely. So please don't do that. Be very careful with your link building. Okay. What else? Indexer, once again, okay, it does say a lot of people seem to believe that the indexer will really help you index the links. In our case, that has never, we really have never seen a huge increase in indexed links using this particular tool. It doesn't go on to say that other link indexing services are not working, but this particular tool isn't really that effective, so we never use it. It does say a count of 28 over here. This project, once again, is too old, and it's going to save you a lot of time because you wouldn't have to set up the indexer, right? So I would suggest not going with this. This doesn't really help you out that much. Same with the RSS submissions. Okay, so even for with this particular module, it used to work really well a year ago. It doesn't work that well anymore. If you want to do it, that's fine. You might get a handful of additional links, but the problem is that, first of all, those links will take a long time to go live because many of these many of these RSS aggregators, first of all, they will decline the links because they're software generated. It's very easy to figure out. Secondly, they're not really they're not the best sites where you can get the links from, so it's really your call. As you can see, we have submitted a couple of links over here, 16 RSS feeds to these sites, but we actually did a test a couple of months ago, and we just found 1 or 2 of the feeds that we submitted for a couple of the projects. So the success rate is extremely low, right? So I mean, if it's worth your while, go for it, but we don't really do that anymore. If you are doing it, make sure you stagger it. Once again, no more than 2 or 3 posts over here. The title needs to be changed. Make sure you really change the title. Use 10 or 15 different combinations. If you have a huge diagram that you're going for a particular project, go with as many as 20 or 30 different titles. It's a lot of work, and it's boring work, but if you want, you can outsource it. Just make sure you do it the right way. Toolbox, once again, don't worry about it. For the most part, we never use it. Over here, it's being used, but it clears the cache memory, clears the cookies, so basically you have less of a footprint. But come on, Google is wiser than that. It doesn't really matter whether you use this or not. They will understand when they see a scrape box run or an SENuke run. For the most part, they'll know it's an automated run, especially if you don't pay attention to the details that I'm pointing out right now over here, right? If you do use your own content, you stagger everything, you use a ton of anchors, you take your time building a strategy. It's more under the radar and it will protect you down the road. Okay, so please be very careful. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see. Yeah, there's nothing else that I would like to go and tell you about. Oh yeah, one last thing is, okay, some people, they are, it's a nightmare to them when SENuke starts closing their windows. You can easily go here, click on disable, right? Go into exceptions and put in the program.exe name in here and click add. Okay, that'll make sure that your program is, SENuke never prematurely cancels or closes down your program, because I know it can be a real pain to open a program and halfway through it automatically closes. So yeah, this is pretty much all I wanted you to say, and I'm going to be ending this video over here since it's almost 15 minutes again. But in the next video, I'll just go through a couple of settings that you might want to change in SENuke and a couple of general pointers. Okay, so thank you, and yeah, thanks once again for watching.